It's a real pleasure to be here to present some of our preliminary results from our project, HFSP research grant, and it is a collaboration between Hyperspectral Lab in Norway and Dendrochronology or Dendroclimatology Lab in Ethiopia. So this makes it another HFSP grant which involves a lab in an African country. And I would like to start by thanking the HFSPO for providing us with the opportunity and the space to think, as the Secretary General put it. So most trees, they produce one growth ring per year. So that the rings that you see on the screen from the disc, which is taken from a tree, it's one of our samples, represents like 1 year. If we zoom in a little bit, so we have the center, which is called the pit, and the ring near the center is the oldest ring or the first ring, and near the bark is the latest or the new ring. Depending on when the wood was taken, it could be fully developed ring or half developed ring. And if we further zoom in, so we have within one ring we have the relatively lighter color, which is early wood, and the thin, it's because it's from tropical species, but in another species it's a little bit, the area is a little bit larger. So the darker is the late wood, and these are very important proxies for characterizing tree rings, or important proxies for dendrochronology or tree ring analysis. So each tree ring or annual ring, they can provide us with exact year in which this ring was formed. Also, the physical and chemical properties of each ring provides us with environmental conditions, or also disturbance has happened in that year where this ring was formed. So by measuring these different physical properties and chemical properties, typically tree ring width and tree ring density, and chemical properties like stable isotopes, carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, and also some elements like calcium and potassium, we can reconstruct paleoclimate. We can reconstruct past disturbance history like fire or insect and disease outbreaks. Also, we can study tree growth dynamics. So what we are planning to address in this project is that tropical tree ring formation is relatively difficult. So tree ring formation in trees, in most boreal and temperate trees, is relatively straightforward, because the strong seasonal cycles in temperature and light induce cambial dormancy in winter, which produces a clear ring. As you can see on the background image of the right, it's from Norway spruce from boreal region, and you can clearly see that the rings are clearly formed. But in tropical species, tree ring formation is complex because of the weak seasonality and also high intra-annual and climate variability. So this, as a result, tropical trees often produce indistinct, as you can see in the lower image, or false rings or double rings. Because of this, it's difficult to identify and analyze or characterize and extract different climate proxy parameters. We are more interested in its application for climate reconstruction. So it's very difficult to do that using the standard dendrochronological method. These are examples of false rings from our own samples. So the pointers at the above of each image, there are the black ones are indicating the true ring or the annual ring, and the white ones are representing or indicating the false ring. So in dendrochronology, typically the aim is to precisely identify the annual rings, also characterize the tree ring or measure or quantify the different properties and extract the target information. But in this project, our ambition is also to not only to develop a method to identify and characterize the tree rings, but also the false rings, because false rings are usually considered as a noise, but they can provide us with important information, especially in the climate change research, because these false rings occur when they respond to these short rainy seasons, particularly response to short rain, like to rainfall or precipitation. And in many areas, these short rains in tropical areas is used to be common, but in many areas, either they are disappearing or they are unpredictable, happening more frequently. So these false rings can also be an important proxy in climate change research. So we are, our ambition is to also be able to detect precisely the false rings. Another challenge is the wood anatomy of flowering versus non-flowering species. In non-flowering species, like coniferous species, as you can see in the above image, it's relatively straightforward, this tree ring detection and characterization. But in flowering species, like you see in the second one, the typical, so the indicators or markers are usually not this wood density variation or contrast in like in coniferous non-flowering species, but it's mostly vessel size and distribution. But as you can see in the last one, there are also some species, which happens to be one of our two samples we propose to test our method. You have completely strange wood anatomy. And in this case, it's the parenchyma bands which are we are using as a marker for tree rings. So our method or our proposal is to use hyperspectral imaging combined with AI for analysis to detect and characterize tree rings of tropical species. And why hyperspectral imaging? Because the principle behind hyperspectral imaging is that all objects reflect, scatter, absorb, and emit electromagnetic energy in distinctive patterns at specific wavelengths. So these characteristics, which is also referred as spectral signature or spectral fingerprint, is a unique feature of an object which can be used to characterize an object in a pixel, in an image. So the why hyperspectral imaging for tree ring detection is because each tree ring represents each growing season, and they are distinct. So even if we don't see them or detect them using the conventional method, using this hyperspectral things, the images, they will have distinct spectral reflectance or spectral characteristics. So this is the theory we are using. So more on the overview of hyperspectral imaging. So our eyes, human eyes, sees colors in three red, green, and blue, and you can see the intensity in different wavelengths. And spectral imaging uses more than three bands, typically 8 to 11, like the bands used in several satellite images, multispectral bands. And hyperspectral imaging uses hundreds of bands, typically over 200. And the advantage with hyperspectral imaging is not only that it has a lot of bands, which gives the opportunity to characterize these detailed things which cannot be captured with the conventional imaging method, but also the continuity of the data. The spectrum is also another characteristics which makes it favorable, or which we think would work for the things we proposed. So this is also another example when Apple, when it's seen using the human eye and with hyperspectral. So this is the pipeline we proposed. So we have input, which is raw hyperspectral cube in the shortwave infrared. And the second step is to pre-process and then to use PCA to select bands with, which gives us higher contrasts within the rings. And the third step is to use that after selecting the best PCA contrast to create these pseudo levels for training our AI model, and then to use this unit backbone encoder decoder segmentation network. We are talking about tree identification, but when it comes in terms of deep learning, the problem is segmentation. So we are using semantic segmentation. And then the final is to predict the tree rings. Our target species, we propose to test this method in two species, Juniperus, the one in the red block, Juniperus procera and Phaidarbia albida. So the reason why we chose these two species, Juniperus is relatively easy species for dendrochronology, so we can use it for validating our method. It's also one of multi-millennial tree species, which is very good for dendroclimatology, but it only grows in a mountainous area, so it represents only few regions. So that's why we wanted to develop more like a method for many tropical species. The second one was supposed to be the difficult one, but it happened to be, I will come back to it later, but very complex one. But we also added other three species. So we are working with 5 different species and Juniperus from 2 areas, but I will focus only on the 2 for this talk. So the samples are collected and pre-processed by our members in Ethiopia. Not only pre-processed, but also the classical dendrochronology method is also conducted by them, including cross-dating, as you can see in the screen. And the image acquisition and pre-processing, the hyperspectral image acquisition and processing is done by Sagun in our lab at NMBU. These are details about the camera and the wavelengths, spectral bands, and resolution. And the analysis, all the AI models is done by our member, Hassan. So all the results I will be presenting from now on was conducted by Hassan. So this is the reflectance of the targeted species, 5 different species and 2 Juniperus from different areas. So the juniperus are represented by blue color, while the Faidherbia is represented by orange. So they have more or less the same reflectance. Yeah. And then this is the result of the PCA analysis to select the best channels which provides us with good contrast. So we could see that yeah, the variability is represented by 6, and of all the 6, the PC2 is the good contrast. This is for juniperus, from two different places, and this is for Faidherbia albida, PCA. So we tried to see what this PCA2 respond to, the different wavelengths. So we have, so the x-axis is the PC2 loading coefficient, and then the y-axis, and then the x is the wavelengths. So we tried to see to study the reflectance properties, and it's not random in juniperus. It has the property of reflectance of cellulose and lignous from the literature, but we are, as I speak, our team members in Ethiopia are analyzing the cellulose and lignin content in the early and late wood, also the trace elements, because some concentrates in the ring boundary. So we will validate or we will study the spectral properties of these different cellulose and lignin, because it has an implication on the reflectance and the absorption. Yeah, the one on the right is the same, the juniperus from different sites, but the one on left is the one for Faidherbia albida, which is a little bit crazy and difficult to explain, but I will say a little bit about this species, which is a little bit strange in its nature, which I didn't know before. So this Faidherbia albida has an inverse phenology, which means that it grows in the dry season and sheds its leaves in the rainy season. So when I first, as you can see in the image, so it's dry in the rainy season. And so the first time I heard about it, we thought it's strange, so we exclude it from our experiment. But when we think about it, it's even a good reason to develop a method to properly characterize and detect the rings, because this gives us an opportunity to study what happens in the dry season. Whatever we extract information using tree rings is the growing season, climate, whatever climate. But in the dry season, we don't know, because every tree is all like dormant at that time. But this tree can give us information, and it is widely distributed in Africa, so it's not some tree growing in a very limited habitat. And this is what it looks like in the dry season. So we know that it forms rings. So in temperate and especially in the boreal regions, it's winter which induces cambial dormancy and ring formation, and in tropical regions, it's the dry season, even if it's brief relatively relative to or compared to the trees in boreal and temperate regions. But if this tree grows in the dry season, so what is inducing this dormancy? So we are a little bit distracted with another question. Also, we are thinking also what are the mechanisms it is using to cope in the dry season. Also, why did it evolve to grow in the dry season? So these are important questions, and if there are people interested to explore these questions, I invite you to join us. Back to the pipeline. So yeah, we select the PCA, which gives us a best contrast, and develop this CEDO level to train our model. And this is the AI model, unit backbone or architecture. And we used two types of method to validate or to evaluate our model. One is leave one disk out method. So for example, we have 4 disks. So we train on 3 and we validate on the fourth one. So we repeat this 4 times. And then the performance is reported as mean and standard deviation. And other is the DICE score, which measures how well the predicted ring boundaries overlap with the reference boundaries. So the higher the DICE score, the model is tracing the ring pattern more accurately. Yeah, so these are the reports of the DICE score and the precision and recall. So the one on the right is when we used only 3 disks. The reason why we started with very limited samples is because when tree ring is used for climate or paleoclimate reconstruction, it is required to have different samples from different time period. So those samples might not necessarily be from living trees. So you might require to get samples from old buildings or even fossilized woods, and they can be only one sample. So we are trying to develop the method so that it works with very few samples. So here we could see that the model already improves when we add one sample. So we are optimistic that we will improve our model and the method will work. Yeah, this is also the DICE score report. It's around 0.7. It is, for a preliminary result, it is good. And now also the way the AI models we are using is not the way we planned, but it's in a good way, because now we can use a multi-model. In addition to image, we can also feed data in terms of metadata, like text, which is a good opportunity to improve our model. Yeah, this is output visualization for Juniperus, and this is for Fiderbia. We don't have the same results for the Fiderbia, but we will like I said, we are studying the properties, the macro molecules like cellulose and lignin properties, contents, and then the spectral properties. Also, we are already in this project. We have finished our preparation to conduct xylogenesis for this particular species to investigate or to follow the process of ring formation, or also to precisely allocate the time when the tree is ring is formed, also the environmental conditions associated with that time. We are also using dendrometers to support our data, which gives us high time resolution data on the radial growth and shrinkage. Yes, so this is it for today, and I would like to, I can't thank enough the HFSP for this grant. On behalf of myself and my team, I thank the organization again, and I would also like to acknowledge the Research Council of Norway for funding my previous project, which enabled me to be an independent researcher and to qualify to apply for the Human Frontier Research Grant Early Career. Yeah, I have also some ongoing projects which inspired the additional experiment we added in this project, which is financed by the Norwegian Embassy in Ethiopia. So I would like to also acknowledge that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nelly.